So for those that do not know me, my name is Mr. Robinson. I teach band here for the Dodgeland School District. This is my first year. I love it. Um, Before we get started, I just want to clarify that there will be time at the end of the presentation for questions. So if you think of any, just you can write it down or just remember it, and we will address it at the end. So, as I was prepping this presentation, I just like I was I thought that this quote worked really well because music education is such an important part of our students' schooling. And this is from President Gerald Ford when he was talking about education. And he says that music education opens doors that help children pass from school into the world around them, a world of music, of work, culture, intellectual activity, and human involvement. The future of our nation depends on providing our children with a complete education that includes music. I really like this because it's so accurate, so true. No matter what direction our students go in once they graduate from Dodgeland, whether that be military, a trade, higher education, music is one of the few things that is guaranteed in life to always be surrounding your students. So it's important that we have this now. So why music? Why music at Dodgeland? There are a few reasons. So we know that students that are engaged in clubs, sports, music, often do very well in school. I think there are many reasons why, but in my opinion, it's because music clubs give students purpose and a sense of belonging, which in turn makes them want to do well in class and do well in school. And being in band also provides them with an identity, which, as we get into middle school and your student gets into middle school, is going to be super important and a super important part of their life. Um, it also engages students both physically and mentally. So music is essentially a mental workout. Every time you pick up an instrument or you sing, you are doing a mental workout. The more students play music, they are, again, getting their mind working in ways that they have never done before. This is also why it is important that they be practicing at home and playing whenever they can and practicing whenever they can. And to put that sort of into perspective, if your student were an athlete, you wouldn't expect them to just go show up at the games and be perfect and win every time. No, you get them actively practicing every day, get them into the gym. So to sort of do that comparison, I think helps a lot. And this mental development also finds its way into enhanced performance in math, reading, writing, and science, as well as just overall creativity. And finally, this third bullet point, it improves social skills by teaching students to work as a team towards a common goal. Band is fun. Students get to be by their friends. They get to work on that collective task of preparing for concerts and going on fun field trips. So there is a huge social aspect to music. Some experiences that you can expect your student to do throughout their time in band. In fifth grade, your student will have the opportunity to perform in two concerts. One is our Bandorama concert, that's in March, and the second one is our spring concert in May. And then once they get into middle school, high school, they'll be able to participate by marching in parades, playing at athletic events with pep band, um, playing at really any other community performances that we're asked of. Um, the second bullet point is my favorite. We often get to travel. So every year, once your student gets into high school, we alternate between day trips and overnight trips. So we were supposed to go to Memphis this year, but because of the travel restrictions, that is pushed to next year. But we've been to St. Louis in the past. We've also done day trips to Madison, Milwaukee, Green Bay. So there's a lot of opportunity for that. And probably the most important thing to your student is that they just have more classes with their friends. They don't get to always choose if they're in English, math, science with their friends, but they can choose to be in music with their friends. All right. So, the most important thing of this presentation, I think, is just how to get an instrument and your options for renting instruments. So, there are really three options, and I will go more in depth with each one in the next few slides. But just to overview, you can either rent from a music store, rent from the school, or use your own instruments. So, to start off, you can rent from a music store. We primarily use two music stores here at Dodgeland. The first one being White House of Music in Watertown, and the second one being Ward Broad in Fitchburg. If you look, the rental costs for instruments are very similar between both of them. You will also notice that there's a range, and that is solely because of that there's a difference between renting a flute versus a baritone. So a flute is going to be cheaper at like 27 and a baritone will be a little more expensive. So that's why there's that range there. Um, the big difference between the two stores, if you look in the left column at White House of Music in Watertown, there is an additional optional $5 a month maintenance and repair cost. If you look on the right at Ward Brat, that price is already included in the rental. So no matter what, if you get an instrument rented from Ward Brat, it has that coverage. I would highly, highly, highly recommend you get that maintenance and repair cost if you go through White House of Music. Most likely, at some point in your student's first year, they are going to drop their instruments. They might accidentally bump into it. It might accidentally just break. But so if you don't have that cost, that insurance, it is going to be a very expensive repair. I just sent in a flute that needed repair and it cost $150. So again, it's necessary for sure. The second option is you can rent an instrument from the school. So the school does have a limited supply of instruments, but the downside is that you may not get your first choice. So if your student is dead set on playing clarinet and I don't have any clarinets to rent out from the school, then they will either have to rent from a music store or find a clarinet somewhere else, or they can change the instrument that they play to something we do have. The second bullet point is also very important, and that is that preference is given to students receiving free or reduced lunch. We at Dodgeland do not want finances to be a reason why a student can't be in band. So if your student wants to be in band and you qualify for free or reduced lunch, reach out and I can get you an instrument for much cheaper. There is an exception to these rules, and that is large instruments. If you are looking to play percussion or tuba, the school will automatically have those instruments because those are incredibly expensive to rent. So if you would like to play either of those two instruments, we have those instruments here. The final option is that you can use your own instruments. So some of you may have family-owned instruments or musical instruments just laying around at home. That is great. Fantastic. I only ask that you bring those music instruments in so that way I can check it out to make sure that it is going to work and to make sure that it's in good playing condition. You can also find an instrument pretty cheap on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. I would just say that if you are unsure if buying a used instrument is a good investment, that you take a screenshot of the posting and you can email it to me, and I will give you my honest reaction on whether or not it is worth it or not. Same thing applies. I don't have it marked down here or noted down on this slide, but if you are buying an instrument from Amazon, it may seem like a great idea because they're so cheap, but just know that they're not always the best investment. Most likely they will need some sort of expensive repair within the first year. Again, that is another option you can go, with, but it has its downsides. So, other costs, real quick. Your student will need a Standard of Excellence book. Each book is different for each instrument. You can find this book online or at any music store. It's about like $7. It's a one-time cost, so pretty inexpensive. Um, Other costs per instrument, if you are playing clarinet or saxophone, just know that your student will need reeds, and typically your student will go through about one box, which is 10 reeds a year, and though that will cost about $30, $30 to $35. If your student is playing a brass instrument, so that would be trumpet, baritone, trombone, or tuba, you will need valve oil and slide cream, which are two very inexpensive things. Brass instruments, thankfully, are very affordable to upkeep. And finally, you can buy an optional folding music stand for practice at home. That is not required, but if that's something you would like, you can find those at any music store as well. All right, my second to last slide. Summer School 2021. Packets and registration forms for summer school have already gone out, and I know quite a few people have already registered for summer school, but just to clarify, participating in band during summer school is not required, but it is highly, highly, highly recommended. And to put into perspective, if your student does not or is not able to participate in summer school, they are going to be about 20 hours behind those that are participating in summer school. Don't get me wrong, we will work hard to get your student caught up. I know the summer is busy and everybody has things going on, but try to make it to summer school. It will help your student. Also, make sure you are signing up your student for the correct time. So first hour would be flutes and percussion, second hour trumpets and French horn, third hour trombone, baritone, and tuba, and fourth hour clarinet and alto saxophone. Just make sure they're signed up for the right time. It is not too late to sign up for summer school. You can sign up for summer school going through May. And if you already have signed up for summer school and you realize now that you signed up for the wrong section or you want to add band lessons to your schedule, you will just need to simply email Ms. Hilsman and she will get that all set away for you. Thank you, Ms. Hilsman. Awesome. So that was a ton of information. Does anybody have any questions?